See, Prime Minister is not making a political statement by saying that the Operation Sindoor is still on. He said, this is not over. You will see there is a bigger picture that is coming up the horizon and we have to be prepared for Pakistan. He believes that the Pakistanis will not change their narrative, their mission in Kashmir, and there could be another thing coming up on the horizon. Even after Operation Mahadev, when these three people who were responsible, the Pahalgam killers, were neutralized, there has been Operation Shiv Shakti where there have been two Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists which have been neutralized in Poonch. Right now, there are at least 60 to a number as much as 100. That could be an extrapolation, but at least around 50 foreign terrorists, when I say foreign terrorists, Pakistanis operating in Jammu and Kashmir. If there is going to be a terrorist attack in Jammu and Kashmir or in the Indian hinterland, which has sources, which has strings back in Pakistan, then there will be a retaliation.
Hello and welcome. You're watching the Hindustan Times and I'm Abhishek Singh. Now, the first stage of Operation Sindoor concluded on 10th May. With that, India established a new norm that its response to any Pahalgam-like attack carried by Pakistan proxies will be overwhelming. As you all know, the primary objectives of the operation were achieved by 10th May. Just days ago, Indian security forces neutralized terrorists responsible for the Pahalgam attack as well. And under normal circumstances, once the objectives of a military missions are achieved, its conclusion is announced. But in his speech in the parliament, the Prime Minister said that the Operation Sindoor is still ongoing. Many in the parliament and outside asked why. In this episode of Point Blank, we will talk about what has prompted the government to keep the operation active. Are there specific ongoing threats or intelligence inputs, or are there any other strategic reasons? In the studio, I'm joined by my senior colleague, Shishar Gupta, Executive Editor, Hindustan Times. Thank you. Good morning, sir. Thank you for taking the time talking to us. Let that be my first question to you. Because generally what happens, sir, once the military objectives are complete of a mission, its conclusion is announced. In this case, Prime Minister specifically stood up in the parliament and in his speech said Operation Sindoor is still ongoing. What's the reason in your opinion?
See, Prime Minister is not making a political statement by saying that the Operation Sindoor is still on. One must understand that Prime Minister Narendra Modi does not make loose statements at all. So I'll take you back on May 11th, a day after the ceasefire was declared. In the morning, Prime Minister Narendra Modi met the three chiefs, the CDS, the National Security Advisor. There were two things, possibly three things he said. First of all, he said that the time for Indian Navy to respond will come. Second, he said he was concerned about why we kept quiet when the Pakistanis violated the ceasefire on May 10th. That is May 10th evening.
Yes.
Then third thing he said, which is most critical, is he said this is not over. You will see there is a bigger picture that is coming up the horizon and we have to be prepared for Pakistan. The third statement indicates that he is obviously not at all comfortable with the ongoing ceasefire, which has there is no document, there is no signing of the thing. So he believes that the Pakistanis will not change their narrative, their mission in Kashmir, and there could be another thing coming up on the horizon.
Right. Also, the fact that in 2021, as various reports which emerged later, based on intelligence reports, that around 2 dozen terrorists from Pakistan entered into Kashmir, and now they're said to be in two groups. One is said to be operating in Kashmir, hiding somewhere, and the another one in the Jammu region, which has been quiet. So, is it also because of that that these terrorists also remain at large, in Kashmir, that Operation Sindoor is ongoing?
See, first of all, there has been a terrorist attack in Jammu. There was a Riyasi terrorist attack. Right. There has been terrorist attacks in Punch. There have been. So, if you talk about the geographical region called Jammu, there have been a lot of terrorist attacks, particularly Rajouri Punch sector. There have been a lot of terrorist attacks. Second thing, what is most important is that even after Operation Mahadev, when these three people who were responsible, the Pahalgam killers, were neutralized, there has been Operation Shiv Shakti, where there have been two Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists which have been neutralized in Punch. There is an understanding. You must understand that right now there are at least 60 to a number as much as 100. That could be an extrapolation, but at least around 50 foreign terrorists, when I say foreign terrorists, Pakistanis operating in Jammu and Kashmir. Right. That is the reason why Operation Sindoor cannot be called off, because these people have come there to kill and die. Now, this group, which was of Suleiman Shah, Gibran and Hamza Afghani, this group had infiltrated obviously around 2021-22, right? Now, this group was trying to exfiltrate through North Kashmir after they had done Pahalgam. What was the most important thing is that this group was not allowed to sort of exfiltrate. Using and at the same time they were neutralized the moment they got full intel that where was the group was there. Right. Now, with 60 foreign terrorists operating in Jammu and Kashmir, and there is hardly any recruitment of the locals. You know, the opposition says that there are locals, there are no locals. Last year there was a recruitment of 8 people. This year the recruitment has been only of 1 person. And that person has also not got out of Kashmir, right? So, the thing is that Pakistan is up to all its antics. It's for you to sort of, try and sort of ensure that you take preemptive action, you have better intel, you know what it is, and so that you are able to counter the attack or preempt the attack when it comes. And that is the reason why, because Prime Minister made it very clear that if there is going to be a terrorist attack in Jammu and Kashmir or in the Indian hinterland, which has sources, which has strings back in Pakistan, then there will be a retaliation. And that is why Operation Sindoor is on, and that is why Operation Sindoor will remain on till such time Pakistan cuts off the terror tap against India.
Right. And could you also throw some light on how Operation Mahadev was carried out and these 3 terrorists? Because initially around, when the attack had happened, there were reports which said that there could be 6 terrorists, then later reports at 5 terrorists, and now we know that those reports were not true, because those were of course based on eyewitnesses which could be conflicting at times, but it later emerged and now we know there were 3 people involved and they were neutralized during Operation Mahadev. How were they caught and how did the intelligence agencies zeroed in on the area where they were, and how were they neutralized?
See, Operation Mahadev has been drilled in great details by the Home Minister Amit Shah in the Parliament itself. Now, this was basically an intel-based operation. The first thing was to ensure that how many of them were involved. The number came down to be 3. You actually tracked the people who were providing logistics to them, the provisions and everything, and then you started working towards where these people are. Now, these people were in Dachigam. Now, they were trying to use the ridge from Baisaran and go towards North Kashmir and exfiltrate from that. So, the whole idea was to first to corner that area. So, in that cornering of that area, the Jammu Kashmir police, the CRPF was used, and then what you were looking was intel as to where there are, the actionable intel, and that actionable intel came from the Intelligence Bureau and they were located in a particular area. the whole idea was not to take a immediate action. The idea was to just make them feel as if nobody knows where they are, and then surround them and then take action against them. These people were highly trained. It's not that they were sort of, from ex-Pakistan army and so on and so forth. These are highly trained people who were using the lay of the land to survive over there, right? They had the provisions, they had everything. They knew that they had to exfiltrate because Pakistan wanted to show that there is no Pakistani involved in this. Once these people were located, they were sort of singled out, then the 4 para commandos of the Indian Army moved in and neutralized them. And that is what the entire operation is all about. We have details as to where they have come from in Pakistan. We have details about what weapons they were using. Obviously, they were using weapons. They were AK-47, then there was M4 rifle, carbine. The M4 rifle obviously is the rifle which has been sort of taken out from Afghanistan when the Americans left Afghanistan on August 15, 2021. And these weapons have been was brought in by ISI and now have been given to the Lashkar-e-Taiba, to Jaish-e-Mohammed to use them in Kashmir. That's what it is. And the funding comes from the drug money. So this is what the basic operation is. The money comes from drugs. Weapons are coming from the US supplies that were left in Afghanistan after they ran off. And this is what is being used in Kashmir. And this will continue because Pakistan has no other options domestically to tell everybody that Kashmir issue is still alive.
Right. Now, another thing which came up in the parliament and especially was a point of discussion between the Minister of External Affairs, S. Jaishankar, and of course Rahul Gandhi. That was the collusion between China and Pakistan. But without getting into the political side of that argument, as far as China is concerned, now China-Pakistan collusion is of course clear. But what is China's ultimate goal?
See, we can also go into the political aspect of the entire debate also.
Okay.
But the point in this is that, somebody who has at least a basic idea of the Indian geopolitics over the past 3 decades would realize that everybody knows the collusion between China and Pakistan.
Right.
Pakistan, call it B team, C team or D team of China, it has been there. And China is using Pakistan to try and degrade India and try and bring India to a level of a regional player, not a global player. And that is what the politicians of the opposition should understand. This is nothing new, what China is doing. China has been doing that for a long time. There have been 2 strategies. One, not yield an inch to India on the border, not yield an inch to India on anything. I mean, you may say whatever it is. I mean, by constructing the dam on the Great Bend of Brahmaputra, they have made it very clear that they will go in what they want to do against India. Pakistan is the B team. Pakistan is also the experiment for their own weapons. Pakistan is basically a lackey which they use to sort of, to allow it to box much above its lightweight category.
Right.
That's what it is all about. So China supplies weapons to Pakistan. China gives aid to Pakistan. China is actually right now given at least $27 billion worth of aid to Pakistan. China helps Pakistan in UN desperately trying to designate innocent Indians as terrorists. China does every game that it plays, and it's all targeted at India. Pakistan is just use and throw.
Pakistan is use and throw, and another country which is looking forward to use Pakistan perhaps even more, not that it hasn't in the past, is US. The bonhomie between Asim Munir and Donald Trump is apparent. Trump even wants to go to Pakistan and look for oil. Apparently there are great oil reserves in Pakistan. But what is behind this, this increase in warmth, between US and Pakistan?
See, Asim Munir may be the newfound love of the US president, but there is money in this game, there is geopolitics in this game. See, this whole business of oil exploration, this oil exploration is not on the landmass of Pakistan, this is offshore, which is basically North Arabian Sea. They're trying to look at something. I have no idea whether there is oil in that particular part of the region, that is on Makran coast.
Right.
The second thing is it has got to do with crypto, because Pakistan is very much inclined on that. Third thing is that when US operates in this region of AFPAC, it has a history of carrying money bags. Fourth thing is that President Trump wants to use Pakistan as a counter to the Islamic State Khorasan province, which is operating in this area and has targeted US. For Pakistan, it's very clear. This is one of the product of the Pakistan factory. So they can give whosoever they want without any legal hassle, and that is what they are doing. Now, the other part is, it is for Pakistan to realize whether it wants to go on the China side or on the US side, on whichever side it wants to go, right? Or jump in North Arabian Sea. But the point over here is that Pakistan basically is playing a tactical game. I'm open to anybody, okay, as long as you give me money.
Right.
That's where it is.
Yeah, and something which Pakistan has been doing all along anyway. Having said that, another thing which came up in the parliament, and of course was the first salvo which India fired in the aftermath of Pahalgam attack, it was of course the suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty. As far as Indus Waters Treaty is concerned, what do you think India's approach is going to be?
See, the Indus Water Treaty has been held in abeyance by the Modi government. What is important about the treaty is that it is a signal. It is also part of Operation Sindoor. It is also a part of what India is now all about. Now, what has happened is, let me take you back. When the Indus Water Treaty was done, when India built the Baglihar Dam and the Salal project, Salal was in Riyasi, right? And they were both on Chenab. Thanks to the limited vision of the then government, the Indian side decided to weld the sluice gates in the Salal project. The government was at that time of Rajiv Gandhi. The foreign minister that time was Rajiv Gandhi. When you welded the dam, you could not clean the dam. So today what has happened is, the Salal project is operating at 11% of its total capacity, because there is miles of sludge, miles of silt lying over there, right? If you try and remove the silt, the dam itself will be under threat.
Right.
So what right now is being done is, you're trying to build a canal through the slit, you're trying to build a canal so that you can dredge out the silt. And that is what is happening to increase the capacity of the dam.
Right.
In Baglihar, already 4 flushings of the dam have taken place. You would have seen images of water flowing out of Baglihar.
Yeah.
Those are basically flushing the dam so that the dam starts holding water. These are 2 big things that are happening over there. But the fact remains is, the sluice gates will still remain shut, because you cannot do anything about them till the time you remove the silt. There are other projects also coming up on the western rivers of the so-called Indus Water Treaty, so that water is utilized by India. Now, the fact remains is, this is something which is important for people who are in Delhi. If water comes to Punjab and water comes to Haryana, then Haryana will stop taking water from Yamuna and Delhi will get water from Yamuna. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And it will change the entire equation in India to farming, and it will put farmers on a tenterhook, particularly cotton farmers on a tenterhook in Punjab and Sindh of Pakistan. This is what the Indus Water Treaty is happening. And right now, the canalling work trying to dredge out the silt is going on Salal. There are further plans of building canals to divert water. Right? Now, if all this happens, Pakistan is going to make hue and cry all over the place in the world. It will also try and do something which normally does, do a terror attack. So that is why Operation Sindoor continues.
Right. Pakistan's hue and cry aside, Indian states like Rajasthan, Gujarat, Haryana, as you mentioned, could really benefit from all the water which could perhaps be diverted towards these states. Having said that, the last thing that I want to talk to you about before we wrap this up, how does India play this game, because Pakistan, for whatever reasons and to whatever extent, is clearly being supported by China, is also being courted by the US. And India, I don't want to bring in the trade element at this point in time because that will of course take the discussion elsewhere. But having said that, India, US at this point in time, there are some tensions between the two countries as far as the trade and tariffs are concerned. So having said that, how does India deal with the both military collusion between these three countries and of course the economic side of things?
See, I'll address the trade part of it also. The trade deal, despite President Donald Trump announcing a 25% tariff on India, my understanding is that the negotiations are still on. My understanding is that the ball is still in play. My understanding is that things should move towards betterment, but after taking a dip. This is what my understanding of the Indo-US nuclear deal is.
What do you make of his statement which he posted on Truth Social where he said Indian economy is a dead economy and he talked about Russia in the same breath? What do you make of that?
See, President Donald Trump is playing a maximalist game. And when you play a maximalist game against anybody, you try and needle the person. So he's needling our vulnerability on Pakistan by taking name of Pakistan, which is not a good idea with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He is trying to sort of needle us with Russia by calling us a dead economy, which is wrong, factually incorrect, but then he's needling. He's basically trying to tell you, listen, you need to yield. But the yielding does not happen like that way when you're dealing with somebody called Prime Minister Narendra Modi who believes in India first. So this is going to play out. There is going to be another trade team which is going to come later in August, right? There are other things also happening. India is looking at sort of compensating US in some other way so that, for instance, that you could have a defense deal with US. For instance, there is a possibility of there's a team coming in which is going to explain India as to why there has been a cost escalation in P-8I aircraft, which India is planning to buy 6 of them. So there are a lot of things in play.
Right.
The game is still not complete, and I think clearly, because one cannot understand or anticipate what President Trump will do, but I think things should ease out.
Okay.
But I cannot give you a definitive picture on that.
Right.
Now, as far as Pakistan is concerned, I'll tell you a very small event which people may have not noticed is the back-to-back firing of the Pralay missile, 500-kilometer range ballistic missile, conventional missile, which India did recently. Now, what India has been doing is that India understands that Operation Sindoor continues. Operation Sindoor is not only about military. Operation Sindoor is also to tell India that it's a step towards Viksit Bharat. It's a step towards Atmanirbharta. And that is why what is happening in Operation Sindoor is that India is trying to bridge all the gaps that it noticed during the May 2020 face-off with China and Operation Sindoor that recently happened. So you are seeing that India is actually building up a ballistic missile, conventional ballistic missile arsenal.
Right.
So you have now Pinaka at 100 kilometers. You have Pralay at 500 kilometers. You have Nirbhay subsonic cruise missile at 1500 kilometers. Then you have BrahMos next generation. So you are actually filling up the gaps.
Right.
And these are going to be part of a rocket regiment. Right? This is basically to ensure that, that the two, that is Pakistan or China, do not threaten India in any other way. But let me tell you something very clearly. China is aspiring to be a number one power. China does not want to make Pakistan the number one power in Indian subcontinent. So again, as I say, there is a limit to which China will go with Pakistan. China cannot afford a military conflict with India and in the end lose up the big picture of becoming the number one power. Suppose, and it's not very difficult to understand, suppose, think of a military scenario in which China actually decides to do something with India and is stuck with it. What happens to its global emissions? That is for President Xi Jinping to decide.
All right. That is some food for thought. But on that note, thank you so much, sir, for taking the time and talking to us about all of these issues. Thank you.